These new Baja California StarBurst. It's like a fiesta in my mouth.
Costaki, when I first saw this with the molars crushing the Mexicans, I assumed it was something to do with Walmart. That's great. What was your reaction?
You know, I'm embarrassed to say I laughed because it's so over the top and so wrong and terrible. You're like, wow, that's hilarious. But what really got me, to me, this is maybe, again, kind of a strange reaction. I was a little bit hurt that some of my crazy ideas that never made it. And this one did. Like, right. I immediately my mind went to the pitch process, right? Like, I've been in pitch situations where I pitch a joke or a sketch, and there's sort of a built-in human sort of a reaction that's a no. There's a reason that there's a no, especially when there's money involved. How did this guy sell this idea? You know, it's like there's a Mexican and a mariachi band and a thing, and the guy drowns, and the violin goes down his throat, and somebody in a suit went, yes. I can't conceive of such a meeting.
Amazing. Yeah, well, you know, it made me think of this piece, this essay that Bell Hooks, the cultural critic, wrote called "Eating the Other," and it's sort of about the.
I thought it was a metaphor.
No.
Well, yeah,
it is a metaphor. Yeah. But it's a really interesting piece because she talks about the way in which capitalism these days consumes other cultures, exotic cultures. But what they erase, what you don't see, is any kind of power. You don't see that represented, the kind of power relationship between white people and the other. And you don't see that here either. So, you know, you would never suspect that, for example, that there was, you know, the kind of issue of, you know, of oppression that faces people of color, especially Latino people, all over the country. You would never get that here. They're just sort of these exotics who are being eaten and consumed by the white boys.
But you do see an expression of power because the guy was actually masticulating goes, whatever. He just continues to,
he don't care.
Exactly. I definitely think the ability to just chomp down is there's definitely a power imbalance because they certainly just couldn't chomp down back.
Yeah.
I mean, as offensive as it is, I was very concerned about what the flavors actually are. It's not clear.
Your mind go there.
I was like, well, it's really awful, but really, what does it taste like? And like Baja and Fiesta. And I don't know music and band.
I don't want the flavor of a mariachi band.
So I was like, well, maybe it's tequila or something. Yes. And then I was like, maybe it's enchiladas or like mole. You know, it was just I couldn't even figure.
Some sort of stereotype thing.
Right.
But they're selling a mood. They're not selling the flavor.
Well, they're selling the fiesta.
Yeah.
Right.
But isn't the product called Baja?
Right.
StarBurst.
So that's the theory. But it's this party fiesta, but still in the meeting, doesn't somebody go, well, we can't do that. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But they probably did research. Our lovely interns did research for this and found out that the state of Baja literally exports no agricultural products whatsoever.
Oh, really?
So, what flavor is Baja?
Well,
it's something geologic, I guess.
Not only that, it's tourism. Right. The flavor is going to be people coming in, wanting to drink or party or be in a resort.
Right.
In terms of flavor, I mean, they are singing, right? So they're singing about the flavor of lemon. That's what they reference. And then one of them yells that the tooth is coming, and so we see that, right? And then when Enrique goes down because he calls after him, we hear him yell like, why is this happening? And so there's definitely like this sense of like powerlessness because we have the other one down on his knees, and
terrible.
But I really saw it as this idea of consumption also. Bell Hooks, also Deborah Root writes a lot about consumption of the other and what that means and who really is a cannibal. Like that's something that she references a lot in her work. And so I definitely see that here too, as well as I think literally it's a lot easier for people in power to swallow stereotypes than anything else. And that's really what we see.
I have one last
we see this literal swallowing of stereotypes. It's more palatable than
I've
real
seen
people.
Titanic, and this band is supposed to continue to play as the watery disaster continues.
Right,
They're noble and hanging in there like.
Right. Well, and at one point you can still hear the music when they're
they're
already
all gone.
when they're already gone.
Right.
And the other sort of random weird thing to me is the fact that the teeth are open. Like none of us have been sitting here today with our just mouths kind of open, like, and so it's just this interesting thing of like the teeth. I'm not clear where they were sort of hanging out this whole time in this open mouth. It just sort of.
I also found out that Adweek magazine also featured this as one of their best spots.
Really?
Yeah.
May 2000.
So
It
it
is
is innovative.
because
It
a
was
lot of the
like
man
an
went,
awesome
yeah.
Wow.
Time for our exit question. It's good to be at the top of the food chain. Give me another reason it's good to be at the top of the food chain, Leola.
Well, because you don't have to swim in saliva if you're.
I don't think we're actually at the top of the food chain, but it's always good to be on top.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think we're at the top, but I appreciate the all-you-can-eat buffet.
Costaki.
As a Greek, I will say octopus with olive oil and oregano. Fantastic.
You don't have to sleep in a tree or a cave.
Ah.
That's all we've got time for. Come play with us again next week on Mental Engineering.